Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is a constant complaint I have against your community. Every time I say Assalamu Alaikum, I don't get the real good wa alaikum assalam. So I always have to repeat myself. Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Much better, much better. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nusalli wa nusallimu ala rasulih al-kareem wa ma ba'd. فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات وذكر الحكيم أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي وبيسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح. So I'm here to pick your brain again. I was thinking to myself, Mufti Sahib always dropped this kind of a bomb without even telling me beforehand. So the whole Taraweeh I was thinking what reminder I'm going to share, because the verses that we were reading, there were so many of the verses that I wanted to share. Especially there is one verse actually that is a part of my PhD thesis. And those of you who have done PhD, you probably already know how much research work it has taken to do your PhD. So I've already done a lot of research on that verse. So I was thinking to myself, chalo, kaam aasan karta hu, I would just share that verse. But I thought to myself, no, that's quite a confusing verse. It has to do with abrogation and this and that. It may overcomplicate things. But then I started thinking about Surah An-Nur, Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha, how she was slandered, things of that sort. But I said, Mufti Saab's announcement just changed everything. When he stood up and he said that, we have Hifz class, we have 13 Hufaz leading Taraweeh prayers upstairs, and then after 3 years they go into different homes, different basements, and there are quite a lot of places where we have our own Hufaz leading Taraweeh prayers. And I was thinking to myself that this is a point that I should probably highlight. Because we live in an age and time where everything is very glamorized. I've said this point, I've made this point beforehand, almost a year ago, but it was taken out of context. It was actually used against me because people were thinking that I'm trying to undermine other scholars that you may love a lot. And this is not the intention. The intention is to actually make ourselves understand and realize that there are individuals in our community that probably we do not value as much. We love them, we respect them a lot, but we probably don't value them as much. When I look at an individual like Mufti Rabbani, who's been sitting in one community for over 30 years, 35 years, and teaching, doing the Hifz school, being here every single day, leading all 5 daily prayers, day in, day out, with the family, with the commitments, with so many other things, somehow managing despite all the odds, despite all the difficulties. This is what it takes to build a community. This is what it takes to build a legacy. People like myself who are jumping from one place to another place to another place to another place. We come here, we may mesmerize you with our talks, with our personality, with some of our jokes, but then we go to another community. We find another opportunity, we think that that's a better opportunity, and we go there. We don't really think long term. And that's the case of many of the scholars that we look up to, that we follow. And once again, wallahi, the idea is not to undermine them. The idea is to help us understand, and I've used this phrase before, I don't know where Asim Bhai is, but Asim Bhai was not in the gathering where I used that phrase. And then later on he came and he told me, did you use this phrase? And I said, yes, I used that phrase. Why did you use it? Because people are thinking that you were attacking other scholars. I wasn't. The phrase that I used, the saying that I used was, all that glitter is not gold. A lot of time, because we live in a celebrity culture, I often say this to people like Mujtaba, the young guys who are pursuing knowledge. I think for them it's very easy. As compared to us, as compared to Mufti Rabbani, for them it's very easy. Because in today's age and time, you can see that these scholars, mashallah, they have attained a lot of fame. People look up to them. People want to become like them. Whereas when we were becoming alim, or when we were pursuing knowledge, people used to call us, Oi Maulvi. That's how people used to treat us. It wasn't a thing of pride. It wasn't a thing that you really wanted to pursue, because nobody was looking up to you. It changes now, alhamdulillah, and it's a good thing. For them, it's an easy journey. But for people who started this journey 20, 30 years ago, and then when they finished their journey, they came into a community, And then they made so many sacrifices, despite all the odds, despite all the hurdles and difficulties. They deserve our respect. They deserve that we look after them. People who look after the community, they deserve people who look after them. So I was thinking to myself that if you go back to YouTube 1 year ago, you will understand and realize, you will find out that around this time, a year ago, that was one of the first time when I started giving post-Taraweeh khatiras. And that changed a lot of things for me personally. Because looking back a year ago when I first came here, I had some serious doubts if I made the right decision or not. Because the youth were keeping their distance from me. They weren't getting too close to me. They had their apprehensions, they had their doubts, they had their reservations. I understand that now. The elders, the grown-ups, despite of my constant efforts, Irfan bhai is sitting here, Asim bhai is sitting here, they can tell you, they can testify, despite of my constant effort that I was trying to break in, I was going up to people, saying salam to them, shaking hands with them. I was forcing myself to do that, but the only person who said salam to me was Misbah bhai, by himself. And I have to say these people, I have to mention the name, and it stays with you, because at a time when nobody knows you, when nobody really makes an effort to get to know you, there are still people, alhamdulillah, in this beautiful community who makes the effort, who takes the initiative and comes and says salam to you. So what I'm trying to say is that I was doubting my decision. I wasn't too sure. And the month of Ramadan came, and it changed a lot of things. I was telling IAGD boys that their first qiyam answered all of my questions, cleared all of my doubts. And post-Taraweeh sessions also changed a lot of things. Because the parents started liking me. And when parents started liking me, their children started liking me. And then it changed a lot of things. And a year from then, I can tell you now, I feel very blessed. I feel very fortunate. I feel immensely lucky to be a part of your community. And I won't trade this community with any other community. And by the way, when I say people like myself jumping from this community to another community, that's not my plan, inshallah. My plan is, Allah has given me a platform. It's a beautiful platform, and I should use it to my advantage and to your advantage as well, inshallah. So that's a plan, inshallah ta'ala. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere, inshallah. So what I want to talk about is the legacy, is leaving something behind. Because we are constantly reading about these stories of the prophets. Even today, there were stories of prophets after prophets after prophets. Why? Because they left a legacy behind. They left a mark behind. And the saying that was coming to my head, it's a very famous English saying, that there are only 3 kinds of people that you will find in this world. And it's not necessarily an Islamic saying, but it's a very famous saying, and it's very true. There are only 3 kinds of people that you will find in this world. There are people who are movable, there are people who are immovable, and there are people who do the moving. So there are people who you can influence. There are people, no matter what you do, you can never move them, you can never influence them. And then there are people who are actually doing the work. There are only these 3 types of people. And it is very close to what Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu very famously said. He said that a believer and a disbeliever and a hypocrite, they are like those 3 individuals who approached a valley. And they all are scared to cross that valley. They all have their doubts. They all have their apprehensions. And they are very scared. The disbeliever refused to move. The believer gathers the courage and he moves. And he crosses the valley. The hypocrite, he moves, he goes halfway, but then he's reluctant. He's confused. He's neither going forward nor coming backward. The flood comes. It kills the disbeliever. Why? Because he refused to move. It kills the hypocrite. Why? Because he was reluctant. And the only person who survived was a believer. Why? Because he is the only one who decided to move. And that's only we have to do. We just have to move. There are people out there who are doing the work, who are moving, who are inspiring, who are working in whatever capacity they can, especially they are working in a capacity in their community where they know something is lacking. And they are involved, they are engaged, they don't want fame, they don't want name, they don't make hurdles and as an excuse to not get involved. They are not waiting to be inspired. There are so many people who sit in Jummah khutbahs, who go and attend different conferences, sit in different conventions, listen to these scholars, big scholars, to get inspired. There are people who are not waiting for that to get inspired. They're already out there working and inspiring other people. And this is, I think, we all need to understand. We need to move, we need to work, and we need to stop making excuses for our community, for our future generation. We need to actively ask ourselves, when I will leave, what will be my legacy, tangible legacy? You should know, what will be my tangible legacy? And you know, the reason why I'm telling you to think about it actively is because of what Imam Ghazali said. He said something amazing. He said, إِذَا الْمَرْءُ كَانَتْ لَهُ فِكْرَةٌ فَفِي كُلِّ شَيْءٍ لَهُ عِبْرَةٌ. When you actively think about something, everything around you directs you towards that thing, points you towards that thing. So for example, you all are looking at me, but if anyone here sitting here is really into technology and thinks about technology all the time, he's looking at this mic and he's thinking about, what kind of mic is this? What's the frequency? Is it high? Is it low? He's constantly thinking about that. You all are looking at me, but if somebody who's sitting here, like Irfan Bhai and Asim Bhai, if they're really into fashion, they're looking at this kurta and they're thinking, he got it from J. Dot. By the way, I didn't get it from J. Dot. My Sas gave it to me. So it's much more expensive and valuable than a J. Dot kurta. But the point is, if you're actively thinking about something, everything around you points you towards that thing. If you're actively thinking about pleasing Allah, Allah will open your eyes. And you will see things and you'll say, I can use that thing to guide people towards Allah. Somebody goes outside, look at the tree. It's just a tree. But you are thinking about your legacy, thinking about Allah, pleasing Allah subhanahu. So you know what? I can use that tree to prove to people Allah can bring life out of death. It changes everything. So that's why I want myself and all of you to actively think about, what legacy am I going to leave behind? Because if you're actively thinking about it, I give you Allah's qasam, Allah will give you the opportunity. But when Allah gives you the opportunity, the bigger question is, are you ready to accept it? And are you ready to accept the capabilities, potential, talent that Allah has given you to serve in that capacity? And the bigger question is, are you ready to do that only for the sake of Allah and not to impress other people? Because Prophet ﷺ said in a beautiful hadith in Sahih Muslim, he said that Allah on the Day of Judgment will say to people, اذهبوا إلى الذين كنتم تراءون في الدنيا. Go and speak to those people who used to do things to impress other people. فانظروا هل تجدون عندهم شيئا. Just go and find out if they have anything to show me tonight. They have anything to show me today? Do they have anything? Because sincerity gives birth to enthusiasm. It gives birth to work. You know, otherwise, there are many people sitting behind screens, making videos, bringing people out of the fold of Islam, telling who is kafir, who is bid'ati, and they may have millions of followers. You know which people I'm talking about. Maybe some of those people we are following and watching all the time. We like this kind of a masala and spicy kind of things, right? But I'm telling you, 2 years, not 2 years, okay, 20 years from now, nobody will remember them. Nobody will remember their legacy. You know the people who are making videos of refuting other people, refuting after refuting after refuting, making videos about the sisters who take off hijab and then they make a mockery out of them. Nobody will remember them. My teacher used to say, there's a reason why the footsteps of Ibrahim ﷺ are still preserved. Millions of people go to that place every single year, pray next to that place, make dua next to that place. But the palaces of Qarun, who used to have multiple people just carrying the keys of those palaces, such huge, humongous palaces, those palaces are disappeared. Nobody remembers them. Nobody knows where they were. But the footsteps of Ibrahim are preserved. Why? Sincerity. People will remember your sincerity. People will remember the work that you do for the sake of Allah, out of sincerity, that benefits other people. And I will end with that. I know I'm taking too much of your time. If there were more people sitting, I would take less time. But because there are less people sitting, and I know all of you on a personal level, so I can take time. But one example, a very strong example, I want to finish with, inshallah ta'ala. So you may ask me for more Taraweeh reminders, inshallah. But one very strong example, to just illustrate the point that if you are actively thinking about your legacy, Allah will give you the opportunity, inshallah. 10, 12 years ago, today when I look at Iran, it goes back, it takes me back to all those Muslim lands where different kinds of atrocities were committed over the last decade or so. So when things started happening in Syria under Bashar al-Assad, and there were so many stories that were coming out of that region, the tragedy and the crisis that was coming out of that region. I remember one such story. I think the video is still on YouTube. So there was this young guy who was beaten to death because he refused to make sajda to the picture of Bashar al-Assad. He was beaten to death. And you may think that, he refused to make him sajda because he was a very pious person. He used to make salah all the time. He used to make dua all the time. He was very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That wasn't the case. You know why he refused to make sajda? As he was being beaten and as he was being tortured, he said, I never made a single sajda to Allah in my entire life. I never made a single salah in my entire life. I never made a single sajda in my entire life to Allah. So I'm not going to allow my first sajda to be for Bashar al-Assad. I'm not going to allow to do that. I'm not going to allow myself to do that. And he died in that state. And right there and then, Allah gave him an opportunity and he created a legacy that inspiring me and you to this day. So Allah will give us an opportunity. The idea is, get these grievances out, get these grudges out of your system, and wrap your sleeves, and let's do the work. Put ourselves to work, inshallah. And if you don't know what work to do in the community, come to me, I will tell you. There are many projects that we want to do. So come to me and I will tell you, inshallah. But seriously, think about it. Even if it's something as small as, will people remember me after I go? After I go away from this world? Will people start noticing that the bathrooms are not cleaned? Will people start noticing that the food is not being served the way it used to be served? Will people, if I'm giving a secret charity to an orphan, will he start noticing that I've never met that person, but will he start noticing that now I'm not receiving that charity? Will he make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, that person who used to spend on me, who used to look after me, take care of me? Never met him. But Ya Allah, you preserve him. You look after him. He has left this dunya now. Will that be the case? So let's start thinking about it proactively. Proactively start thinking about what legacy, inshallah, we're going to leave behind. And I give you Allah's qasam, Allah will open the door. Allah will give the opportunity, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us understanding. May Allah keep us united in this dunya. May Allah reunite us in the hereafter. Wa akhir da'wana. Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah.